Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Modi receives a delegation of foreign ministers of Arab countries and Secretary General of the League of Arab States as New Delhi hosts the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting today. Donald Trump sends Armada, larger than Venezuela operation for Iran, as he hopes Iran would prefer a deal over America's military action. Tehran says ready for fair talks with the US, but not under the shadow of threats. Nationwide anti-ICE protests across the United States. US Justice Department opens civil rights probe into the fatal shooting of Alex Prete by ICE agents in Minneapolis. And India to take on New Zealand in the fifth and final T20 in Thiruvananthapuram today. Both teams get one final chance to prep up before the T20 World Cup in February. Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a delegation of foreign ministers of Arab countries, Secretary General of the League of Arab States and heads of Arab delegations who are in India for the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting. During the meeting, Prime Minister Modi highlighted the deep and historic people-to-people ties between India and the Arab world, which have continued to inspire and strengthen our relations over the years. The Prime Minister outlined his vision for the India-Arab partnership in the years ahead and reaffirmed India's commitment to further deepen cooperation in trade and investment, energy, technology, healthcare and other priority areas for the mutual benefit of our peoples. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's continued support for the people of Palestine and welcomed ongoing peace efforts, including the Gaza Peace Plan. He conveyed his appreciation for the important role played by the Arab League in supporting efforts towards regional peace and stability. So the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting is being held in New Delhi on Saturday, co-chaired by India and the UAE. Minister of State at the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Khalifa Shaheen Al-Marar, arrived in Delhi on Saturday for this meeting. His visit will further strengthen the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and the UAE. Oman's foreign minister arrived in New Delhi to attend the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting. Foreign Minister of the Sultanate of Oman, Badr Al-Busaidi, arrived in New Delhi for the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting. The visit is aimed at further strengthening the multifaceted strategic partnership between India and Oman. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with Foreign Minister of Oman, Badr Al-Busaidi, in New Delhi on Saturday. Sharing details of the meeting in a social media post, Dr. Jaishankar said that the discussion between him and his Omani counterpart were focused on trade, critical minerals and regional developments, reflecting the trust and comfort of the strategic partnership between India and Oman. Earlier, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held bilateral talks with several Arab counterparts in New Delhi on Friday. Here's what transpired.
India is hosting the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting in New Delhi on Saturday, co-chaired by India and the UAE. Foreign ministers of Arab League member states and the Arab League Secretary General are taking part in this meeting. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a series of bilateral meetings with Arab counterparts, including Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Gheit. He met foreign ministers from Comoros, Palestine, Libya, and Sudan, discussing cooperation in trade, energy, infrastructure, health, and regional issues, including Gaza and Sudan. Sudanese Foreign Minister Moheldin Salim Ahmed Ibrahim said India has had a long standing presence in Sudan and that both countries are now looking to expand partnerships.
India is already there with Sudan, but in this new era, I think we are looking forward for more partnerships in so many areas, in agriculture, in mining, in transportation, in technology, in every sector of the life. And I think there are good opportunities for investment for our friends from India.
Ministers and delegates from the 22-member Arab League, including representatives from Qatar and Somalia, have gathered in New Delhi for the meeting. The foreign ministers' meeting is being held after a gap of 10 years, following the first meeting in Bahrain in 2016. The second meeting is expected to strengthen and expand cooperation across key sectors between India and Arab nations. Bureau Report, DD India.
More news from India. The Nationalist Congress Party, NCP, chose Rajya Sabha MP Sunetra Pawar as its legislative party leader, clearing the way for her to be sworn in as Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra later today. The Deputy Chief Minister post fell vacant following the death of Sunetra Pawar's husband and NCP chief, Ajit Pawar, in a plane crash on Wednesday in Baramati. Senior party workers, including Working President Praful Patel and State President Sunil Tatkare, proposed her name at a meeting held at Vidhan Bhavan in Mumbai. India's Minister of Environment, Bhupendra Yadav, announced the addition of 2 new wetlands to India's Ramsar list ahead of the World Wetlands Day on 2nd of February. In a post on X, Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupendra Yadav, said Patna Bird Sanctuary in Uttar Pradesh and Chahari Dhand in Gujarat have been added to the Ramsar sites list. He noted that India's Ramsar network has expanded from 26 sites in 2014 to 98 sites at present, reflecting the country's commitment to wetland conservation. The minister said the two wetlands support hundreds of migratory and resident bird species. Aerospace company Whisk Aero unveiled the world's first fully autonomous 4-seater aircraft at Wings India 2026. The pilotless electric vertical takeoff and landing is designed for short urban trips, offering safer, quieter and eco-friendly travel. The aircraft completed its first successful flight in December 2025 and aims for future operations in India. More in this report.
A glimpse into the future of urban air mobility took center stage at Wings India 2026 in Hyderabad, where Whisk Aero, a Boeing subsidiary, unveiled what it calls the world's first fully autonomous 4-seater passenger aircraft. Designed for short-haul trips, the pilotless electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft promises quieter, safer and more sustainable mobility. The 6th-generation model marks the culmination of over 15 years of research, drawing on lessons from earlier prototypes to bring urban air mobility closer to reality. The aircraft marked a key milestone with its first successful flight on December 16th last year. Whisk Aero hopes to certify and operate the aircraft in the United States soon, while seeing India's aviation landscape as a promising destination for autonomous air services in the years ahead. Whisk Aero gave visitors a glimpse into the future at Wings India 2026, with simulators showcasing next-generation flight and the company's potential in advanced air mobility.
More news from Asia now. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif recently expressed frustration over his country's growing reliance on foreign loans, calling the practice a source of national embarrassment. Addressing Pakistan's prominent exporters and business leaders at an event in Islamabad, Sharif emphasized the burden of debt on Pakistan's dignity, indicating the need for alternative economic strategies. Sharif further said that both he and Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir feel ashamed when seeking financial assistance abroad. Sharif's admission of begging for loans highlights the country's economic struggles and reliance on international assistance. This comes as Pakistan seeks IMF support and debt rollovers. Sharif also openly admitted that the country's survival is being driven by a hybrid regime, with the military playing a central role in governance. His comments once again bring into the spotlight the country's ongoing economic struggles, including heavy debt burden, rising poverty and high unemployment. Pakistan is facing a severe socio-economic crisis, with poverty rates estimated to have risen towards 45% of the population, exacerbated by inflation and floods. Unemployment has climbed to around 7.1%, with over 8 million citizens jobless, while exports remain heavily reliant on textiles and commodities. Pakistan is currently facing a severe debt crisis, with total public debt exceeding 76,000 billion rupees as of March 2025, nearly doubling in just 4 years. On to Bangladesh now, where a sharp institutional standoff has emerged ahead of the February 12th general election and referendum. The Election Commission has warned that civil servants campaigning for a yes or no vote is illegal, even as government advisors and officials openly back a yes outcome. The EC has cited the Referendum Ordinance 2025 and the Representation of the People's Order 1972, stressing that while officials may share information, influencing voter choice is a punishable offence. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has cautioned Bangladesh against providing unsecured liquidity injections into weak banks, warning that such measures could undermine financial stability without credible reforms. According to a statement released on Friday, the IMF said Bangladesh's economy has slowed while inflation remains elevated. GDP growth fell to 3.7% in fiscal year 2025 from 4.2% in fiscal year 2024. Although foreign exchange reserves have begun to recover, tax revenue collection weakened sharply in fiscal year 2025. The IMF stressed the urgent need for comprehensive banking sector reforms aligned with international standards, including asset quality reviews, clear estimates of undercapitalization, stronger supervision and improved governance. It warned that unsecured liquidity support to weak banks could worsen vulnerabilities. The fund also called for a tight monetary policy to curb inflation, full implementation of exchange rate reforms, stronger revenue mobilization, subsidy rationalization and governance reforms, stressing that sustained policy action by the next administration will be critical to restoring economic stability. We are heading for a short break here on DD India Live. Stay tuned.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. US President Donald Trump on Friday said that Iran wants to make a deal rather than face American military action, despite Tehran warning that its arsenal of missiles would never be up for discussion. President Trump has warned that Iran return to negotiations over its nuclear program or face far harsher US action. Trump had warned of possible military action if protesters were killed during the anti-government protests that began in late December and reached their peak on January 8th and 9th. Trump also added that an armada larger than Venezuela's is on its way towards Iran.
We'll see how it all works out. You know, they have to float someplace. They might as well float near Iran. But it's a rough situation going on. So I stopped 837 people, as you know, last week from being hung They were going to hang 830. It was all set. And I mean, I'm looking at the people behind me. They're saying, what kind of racing's a lot nicer than that. They were going to hang 837 people. And I told them, if you do it, you're going to pay a price like nobody's ever paid before. And they pulled back. I appreciated that. But a lot of people are being killed. So we'll see what happens. I can say this, they do want to make a deal. Yeah. Large Armada, flotilla, you can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela. It's still in front of Venezuela. The Venezuelan situation, the leadership is doing a very good job. We're very happy, and we're getting along very, very well.
The U.S. Armada, as Trump has described it, continues to position itself near Iran's waters, led by the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. The U.S. Navy destroyer has docked at the Israeli port of Eilat, citing the military. As tensions between Washington and Iran escalate, the deployment comes as Trump signaled he was open to talks with Iran, even as Washington dispatched additional military assets to West Asia. In response, Iranian authorities have signaled that they are ready to defend their country as the United States continues to threaten a military attack. Iranian Foreign Affairs Minister Abbas Araghchi on Friday said that Iran is ready to resume fair and equitable talks with the United States, warning that Tehran's missile program cannot be on the table.
If the negotiations are conducted in a fair and equitable manner, the Islamic Republic of Iran is ready to take part in these talks and in such negotiations. Iran welcomes and is ready to participate in any form of dialogue between regional countries that is aimed at creating peace, reducing tensions, and strengthening stability in the region, and we are ready to take part in them.
Earlier, Araghchi met with his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan in Istanbul on Friday. Here, the pair discussed the escalating tensions amid the ongoing U.S. threats and military buildup in the region. However, Araghchi said no meetings have yet been arranged between Tehran and Washington to resolve a decades-long nuclear dispute. Amid all this, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian blamed U.S., Israeli and European leaders of stoking tensions in the region. Iranian President, in a live state TV broadcast on Saturday, said that U.S. President Donald Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and European leaders had exploited Iran's economic problems, incited unrest and provided people with the means to tear the nation apart in the recent protests. Further, the United States on Friday imposed sanctions on Iranian Interior Minister Eksender Momeni and a businessman it said helped launder money for Tehran. The Department of the Treasury, announcing the move, said Momeni was responsible for a brutal security crackdown in Iran this month as he oversees law enforcement forces it said were responsible for the deaths of thousands of peaceful protesters. Earlier, the European Union designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization, a move strongly condemned by Iran. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Kaja Kallas said foreign ministers of the EU have taken the decisive step of designating Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, as a terrorist organization. In a press release issued on the same day, the Council of the EU said that it decided to impose restrictive measures on 15 Iranian officials and 6 entities. With the latest decision, the EU's restrictive measures now apply to 247 individuals and 50 entities. The measures include asset freezes, travel bans to the EU, and a prohibition on making funds or economic resources available to those listed. Thousands of protesters took to the streets across various cities of the United States on Friday against U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, after the fatal shootings by federal agents in Minneapolis. Protesters marched through the capital, Washington, D.C., calling for accountability for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, urging lawmakers to defund or abolish the agency amid mounting outrage over federal immigration enforcement tactics. Protesters rallied outside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles as part of the nationwide anti-ICE demonstrations. Riot police and federal officers formed lines with shields as crowds chanted for justice and clashed with authorities. Similar events unfolded in Colorado, where protesters gathered in Denver against Trump administration's immigration crackdown and the federal enforcement operation that has drawn widespread ire. Marchers rallied with flags and banners in solidarity with broader nationwide ICE Out protests. Protests also erupted in San Francisco as part of the ICE Out action, opposing U.S. immigration and customs enforcement and condemning the federal immigration crackdown. Thousands of people marched in Minneapolis as well to protest the presence of federal immigration agents, with demonstrators demanding the agents be withdrawn. Protesters rallied against President Trump's immigration crackdown and the tactics used in the operations. Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General of United States Todd Blanche confirmed on Friday that the U.S. Justice Department has begun a preliminary civil rights review into the fatal shooting of Alex Pretty by federal immigration officers in Minneapolis. Calling Alex Pretty's death a tragic event, Todd Blanche said that the FBI was examining the shooting.
Clarify your remarks on the Alex Pretty killing. Are you saying that the Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation into his death?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, look, I know there's been a lot of discussion among the media around that, but just think about what that means. All that means is that DHS, as the Secretary has said, is conducting an investigation, as they should and as they do every time there's a tragic event like this. And the FBI, in their role, which is a separate role from DHS, is also looking into it and conducting an investigation.
On to business news now. The U.S. government was headed towards a partial shutdown on Friday as Congress appeared unlikely to approve a deal that would keep a wide swath of operations funded past a midnight deadline. After hours of delay, the U.S. Senate passed the spending package by a bipartisan vote of 71 to 29, but the House of Representatives is not expected to vote on the new budget bills until Monday at the earliest. Lawmakers from both parties have been working to ensure a debate over immigration enforcement that does not disrupt other government operations, despite mounting Democratic anger over the killing of 2 people by immigration agents in Minnesota. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has held up the bipartisan deal to avert a shutdown as he sought to restore a widely planned provision that would allow lawmakers to sue the government for damages. This is a marked contrast from last fall when Republicans and Democrats dug into their positions in a dispute over healthcare, prompting a shutdown that lasted a record 43 days and cost the U.S. economy an estimated $11 billion. India's Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Nirmala Sitharaman, is scheduled to table the Union Budget 2026-27 on Sunday. This will be the 9th consecutive budget to be tabled by Nirmala Sitharaman in the capacity of Finance Minister. Earlier, she had tabled the Economic Survey 2025-26 in Parliament on January 29th. The survey acts as a policy guideline document for the budget. Budget 2026-27 comes with a lot of expectations as India is now the 4th largest economy and growing by leaps and bounds, along with lots of volatility in global geopolitical and economic scenario. So as we are just hours away from the presentation of the budget 2026-27, focus is on simpler taxation and a wider tax base. Previous budgets have focused heavily on reducing direct taxes for individuals and corporations to boost disposable income, consumption and corporate investment.
Budget 2026 is expected to send a strong message with bold, people-centric tax reforms. The focus is likely to be on a simpler taxation, a wider tax base and stronger trust, using fiscal policy to boost growth, consumption and investment. Personal taxpayers are hoping for meaningful relief. On indirect taxes, GST reforms remain central. Industry expects rate rationalization, simplified tax structures, fast input tax credit refunds, and incentives for long-term investments. For corporates, the demand is clear: stability and predictability in tax policy.
The government should stabilize the tax structures so that it is very crystal clear to everybody. There is just 0 to 1 option, which should be it should be in binary. The capital gain, which is taxable, that is kind of stopping lots of investors to invest in a startup. So that should be freed for some more time.
The BFI sector's expectations from the budget are largely about system strength, how well financial intermediaries can mobilize savings and transmit credit efficiently. One key area is tax parity between deposits and bond investments.
Now, talking of the budget of 2026, we expect some more rationalization into slabs, and it will be good if there are only 3 major slabs in terms of direct taxes. We also expect some kind of revision in TDS norms to make sure that businesses have more cash to run.
Recent union budgets underline a clear trend. India's tax policy is becoming simpler and more growth-oriented. Under the new tax regime, income of up to 12 lakh rupees is tax-free, rising to 12.75 lakhs for salaried taxpayers with standard deduction. Compliance has improved with rationalized TDS and TCS norms, higher LRS thresholds, and decriminalization of minor delays. Custom duties have also been simplified by reducing tariff slabs. Overall, India's tax framework is steadily moving from complexity to simplicity, supporting growth and inclusive development.
Budget 2026 is about encouraging innovation and ensuring that taxation becomes a catalyst in nation's journey towards a resilient and inclusive Bharat. With camera person Mukesh, this is Tripti Tripathi reporting for DD India from New Delhi.
And on to sports news now. India will take on New Zealand in the 5th and final T20 in Thiruvananthapuram today. The hosts have taken an unassailable 3-1 lead in the 5-match series, but their biggest concerns have been the spin bowling department and out-of-form wicketkeeper batter Sanju Samson. Spinners have together taken 11 wickets across 4 matches, while Samson has scored just 40 runs. The Indian side would be keen to rectify the lacunas before the T20 World Cup early next month. On the other hand, New Zealand will enter the match high on confidence after their comprehensive win in the previous encounter. They would be eager to defeat India again. Both sides also get an opportunity to experiment with the squad ahead of the big tournament, figuring out their best playing 11 in the T20 World Cup in February. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.